So every now and then, because I have so many cameras, I tend to put film in a camera and then I start shooting with it, and then before you know, I put it in the cabinet, and then I totally lose track of it, or I forget about it, and then I start shooting with a different camera. And that's exactly what happened with this camera here. And this is the Canon Sureshot Owl camera. I started shooting with this camera about 2 years ago. I think it was December of 2017 actually. And somehow I loaded it with Kodak GC400 film, and I just put it back in the cabinet, and this camera has been sitting in there with film in it for almost 2 years. And believe it or not, just a few weeks ago I decided, you know what, why don't I complete the review of this camera here. And so I took it out of the cabinet and I took it out for a spin. When I developed the film, I noticed that, oh, really, this is really old, because I could tell from how much my kids have grown in those 2 years. So for this episode, I want to do a review of the Canon Sureshot Owl camera. I must say this camera is one of the very simple cameras, the most simple cameras that you could ever own. Simple in terms of features. Right on top here is the shutter release button. Over here is the self timer button. Over here is the flash mode button. Once you open the lens, you will be able to change the flash settings just by pressing on this button. So that means there's going to be flash, no flash, and I think this is just like the normal mode, automatic mode basically. You know what I like about this camera? It's just no fuss, right? No fuss, very simple features, nothing fancy, but yet very practical to use. Look at the size of that viewfinder, and that's why this is called the Owl, because it has one of the largest viewfinders that you can find on any camera. It's very nice to look through. That's one of the main features of this camera. My experience overall with this camera is it's been good. I have no complaints about this camera. It's one of those cameras that you just want to take with you, maybe like on a road trip that you don't want to think too much about the camera itself. All you want to really think about is enjoy the experience and also have some memories with you. This is one of those cameras to take with you. It's a no fuss camera. That's what I really liked about it. The kind of batteries that this takes is your AA batteries, which anyone can find. It's easy to find these batteries, so that's not complicated at all. Other than that, there's not much to say except for maybe how to load the film. It's a simple mechanism in there. You put the film in there, the film canister in there, you stretch the film across here, and then you just load it up to this red mark right there. Make sure that the holes or the perforations in the film gets caught up in the sprocket right there, and stretch it up to here. You close the back, and then you're gonna hear it run until it gets to the zero mark here. So the first few frames will literally be wasted, and that's normal for these point and shoots. When you're done shooting, it will automatically rewind, and you'll see this light up when it's rewinding, and that's basically it for this camera. In terms of quality of the images, so my film was in this camera for almost 2 years, like I mentioned, so I must say that it was pretty much almost expired by the time I finished shooting with it, and you can tell there's a little bit more grain than usual. But I must say that this camera is the lens on this camera is fairly sharp. I would say it's just maybe above average in terms of sharpness. I particularly liked the subtle film look, and when I say film look, I actually mean the aesthetic of film images that are quite different from a digital image. It does have a subtle hint of that, which I liked. The images that I got as well, there was a little bit of searching when it comes to focusing. The focusing on the camera, sometimes it wasn't always on point, but mostly images at a further distance, maybe from 30 meters to infinity, were always sharp. I love the way the lens actually represented the color. I had to do a tiny bit of color correction, but it wasn't over the top, and I think mostly because my film was effectively expired by the time I developed it. But it was good. It was good. You know, I love the way it looks. I loved the graininess of the images, and that's mostly because the film had expired. The sharpness was pretty good. These cameras are not meant for professional, it's meant for the casual enthusiast, you know? So it's a good camera for that purpose, and I like shooting with it.